Hello, welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to have a look in, or take a bit more of a deep dive into what your arms and hands should be doing during your golf swing. There are three main movements that you are looking to make with your hands through your swing. And your arms and hands are basically going to be guiding the golf club in a path around your body through the golf ball while accelerating the club, and especially the club face. At the same time, they are returning the club face back to a neutral, what we call square position at impact, which is the reason why you're hitting the golf ball straight. One of the things you've got to understand though is the high speed of the movement of your arms and hands and joints in the downswing and through the golf ball. Not something that you're going to be able to control with your conscious mind. So what you've got to be doing is drilling feelings into your arms and hands and then trusting these feelings when you're actually hitting golf shots. So the first thing I want you to do is basically take a closer look at your grip. How do you grip the club? And is that actually helping you to square the club up at impact? In most cases, that means you want to have the feeling that when you're gripping the club, were you to extend your arms out in front of you, the club face should not rotate to the right or to the left. If you have a grip which influences the club face, that means you are gripping it strongly or weakly, then by straightening your arms out in front of you, you will actually see a rotation in the club face, and therefore you know that your hands are probably going to have an effect on the impact position without anything else happening in your arms and hands, simply because of your grip. Now that might be necessary if you tend to hit the golf ball to the right. A strong grip might have helped you to get the ball back into the middle. Similarly, you hit it to the left, a weak grip would help you. Again, we're talking about a right-handed golfer. Sorry, all you left-handers out there, I know you have to put up with this all the time, but it's just simply, in the explanation, easier for us to explain it this way. But what you want to be trying to do is get as neutral a grip as your swing will allow. When you're then moving the glove back away from the ball, first of all, you want to have the feeling of your arms staying stable, not too much happening with them at all. You keep pressure with the heel of the lead hand down on the club so that the club doesn't droop and go into ulnar deviation with your wrist. In the backswing, you want to hold that angle while at the same time lifting your arms up in front of your body in the backswing. As you start to hinge your wrists back, as the trail wrist starts to go into extension, the lead wrist will start to go into flexion. Despite your address position, irrespective of your grip, you're always going to have a bit of extension in the grip at the beginning of your lead hand, and that will go into flexion. As this happens, you've got to allow your lower arms to rotate so that the shaft comes and stays in its plane, parallel to its original line. And from here, as the arms carry on up, almost to the point where the lower arm or upper arm collides with your chin, then you have basically got yourself to the top of the swing with your lead wrist pretty flat. It's gone up into what we call radial deviation at the top of the swing. The trail wrist has gone into extension and is bent back away. We call this the waiter. In many positions, this feeling of just hinging the trail wrist back. And if you're looking from the down the line camera, you want the feeling that the lead arm is kind of extended over your shoulder line, and the club is basically pointing down the target line, parallel to the target line. All of these things are good positions to be getting into and moving through, and they're causing you to lift, to rotate, and to hinge all at the same time in the backswing. The advantage of the backswing is that this is all taking a bit longer. The average backswing for an amateur golfer takes around about a second, just under a second sometimes, but the downswing goes a lot quicker. We're looking at a third of a second for a relatively slow swing, and we're down to 200 milliseconds for a professional swing. That means that when you start down, you don't want to be doing too much actively with your arms. You've got to allow them to basically come out of their individual positions. So the wrist, which has gone into radial deviation, will go into ulnar deviation. What's bent back will bend down. The lower arms, which have rotated to flatten the club out, will rotate back and get the club back onto plane at impact. And of course, your wrists, which have gone into flexion, will go through impact into extension. And all of these things have got to be happening perfectly automatically. And that's why I would recommend you doing a couple of drills just to give you the feeling for this. One of the simplest drills you can do is just simply take a coat hanger, address the imaginary golf ball, or if you got one, a golf ball on the floor, and make sure that the arm of the coat hanger is on the inside of your lead arm. As you take the club back, then you want it to stay on the inside of your lead arm. And you can see how I can see how here the coat hanger is rotating in the backswing and also hinging up towards my trail shoulder as I take it up and over the shoulder in the backswing. As I then change direction with my body, you can see how the arms of the trail arm stays bent to start off with as the trail shoulder comes down. And to a certain extent, I will actually allow this rotation to continue to begin in the downswing as I start this kind of transition movement. But then as I come back into impact, look and watch how I tilt the club down, or in this case the coat hanger down, and rotate back to square. So it's not just a question of rotating, it's going into ulnar deviation and rotating at the same time. Also allowing the hand to go into flexion, so as I come through, after the arms have reached extension, then the arm of the coat hanger should come away from your lead arm as you go in to the end position. But the arm of the coat hanger stays on your lead arm from the start of the swing to the top, carries staying on the lead arm through impact until your trail arm is in full extension. And then as the lead wrist goes into extension, the arm of the coat hanger comes away from your lead arm. Otherwise, obviously the good old impact bag is a great way of getting the feeling of releasing the club into the ball. And again, this is the kind of feeling of almost the club as you rotate, free falling and being allowed a free whack at the bag. You don't want to get too much of a feeling of driving the club into the bag as much as swinging it into the bag. And there's a bit of a tip in the name. We are making a golf swing. So the whole idea of these movements is to swing the golf club and to allow it to release into the back of the bag here. And getting that kind of free feeling and hearing that increased noise as you make impact with the bag will kind of give you the confidence to do that with a golf ball. You want to kind of get that feeling of how quickly can you get the thing releasing without the feeling of actively bending your wrist back into extension or actively flipping your wrists over through the golf ball. This should be happening perfectly intuitively. And you've got to just believe me that if you have a good picture in your mind of where you want the golf ball to go, then your unconscious mind is quite capable of coordinating these complicated movements at high speed and getting the club face pretty square back onto the golf ball, which means you should see a good dispersion pattern out there, and one which you can take on the golf course and which will help you to not only hit the ball further, but also to find it. Hope you liked it. If you did, smash that like button. Don't forget that liking the channel helps me to get back a bit more often, because it tells the algorithm that the videos are liked and they will pass them on to more people and we get more subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. That helps me even more. And if you would like to become a patron to the channel, then I shall leave a link below. And thank you very much to everybody who has done this, because that really helps the channel more than anything else at the moment. Just with the Google and YouTube support, I wouldn't be able to get back here as often as I do. I'll be back next Sunday with the next one. Hope you enjoyed this one. Get out on that range and practice it. The season's coming very soon, very soon. Till then, bye-bye.